Hey, so good afternoon from Chicago, and thank you for joining this live stream discussion. As many people know, Stripe is building the future of financial infrastructure for the internet, and the internet is changing with the increasing adoption of Web3. And on our side, Zero Hash, our mission is to provide the infrastructure for the future. And I think together, Stripe and Zero Hash are doing something pretty exciting. Stripe's embeddable and customizable fiat-to-crypto onramp for the Web3 economy is powered in partnership with Zero Hash. And today, we're going to be sitting down with Guillaume Ponchin, who heads up the crypto team at Stripe, to learn a little bit more about their vision for Stripe in a Web3 world. Guillaume, thank you for joining us today, and it's great to have the opportunity to sit with you a little bit and share a little bit more with the wider world the partnership between Stripe and Zero Hash. I think a great place to start would be to understand the opportunity that Stripe saw in entering the crypto ecosystem. So the first question I would like to start with, and I think many of the audience would like to start with, is why is Stripe invested in supporting crypto and the Web3 economy?
That's a great question, and thank you, Edward, for having me here and the
Absolutely.
Partnership over the last many months. So, yeah, why is Stripe getting into crypto and Web3? And, I think it was very much a user-driven thing for us. We've worked on crypto efforts since 2014 or so. I think we really put it into a high gear around 2021, and the realization we had at that point was the payment providers were not serving the industry of crypto very well, and we thought we could do better and give exchanges and NFT users sort of a better deal in terms of supporting fiat payments. And so that was a focus in 2021. But then in the process of doing that, we've talked to a lot of users, and the overwhelming feedback was in the space of Web3, nothing is quite there yet. Like, the building blocks are not easy to use. Some are pretty good, but we don't have a great on-ramp. We don't have a great off-ramp. There's a lot of missing pieces for developers. And this kind of feedback came from like the YC startup, the two-person YC startup, all the way to very big companies that engage with Stripe for other things. And so to us, it sounded very much like, hey, this is the early days of e-commerce payments. Like, back in the 2000s, it was very difficult to accept a payment on the internet. And Stripe made it easy, like 7 lines of code, famously, and that enabled the whole generation of startups. We want to do the same here for Web3. Like, what are the building blocks we should build, and so that it doesn't take like 20 steps to buy an NFT for the first time.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating, especially in particular around kind of big and small and kind of the product servicing startup to large established company. I think what would be really interesting is maybe to unpack maybe some of the use cases that you see, the payment use cases, and how these maybe traditional merchants or newer merchants is changing in the Web3 world.
Yeah, that's the object of a lot of the thinking we're doing. Interestingly, when we talk about the user needs, they're basically the same. Like, people want payments to be reliable. They want payments to be fast and cheap and safe, and people want to pay for things. Merchants want to accept payment. Nobody wants fraud. All of this is sort of the same in Web 2 or in Web 3. In my mind, the challenges in Web 3 today is because the maturity of the solutions in that space is not quite there yet, and so it takes some extra effort for the developer and for the end user. But it wouldn't be so different from if you were trying to buy a T-shirt on the internet in 2005. You would go through the same kind of challenges. Lots of steps, and the language is maybe confusing, and it doesn't feel quite safe. And so, in my mind, the developer tooling is maybe where we need to focus, and then we can build better versions of these products and get to sort of parity between Web 2 and Web 3 in terms of speed and cost and such.
Yeah, no, fascinating. And I think, what would be interesting is, the bullishness of Stripe around the space and the use cases that you talk about. I mean, it's interesting. It's no secret the environment that we're in. And I thought that the blog that your team put out, and something that we've discussed many times, is that, despite the difficult period for the crypto ecosystem that we're in, and maybe some of the challenges that we've experienced over the past couple of months in particular, Stripe remains excited about kind of the underlying prospects of innovation. Which I'm assuming is because of the technology, the fundamental changes that you've kind of articulated. But it'd be great if you could just maybe unpack that a little bit more as to, why are you still interested in this space? And that's sometimes a question that I get. I know that you get it. We've had that discussion many times. So it'd be great to maybe unpack that a little bit more.
Getting maybe network issues. But I think I got the gist of the question. I think, so why are we so excited about this? And despite the crypto winter situation here. And I think if I take maybe a broader view of this question, if we zoom out a bit, Stripe tends to think on like a 10-year horizon. Like, let's make APIs that will last for 10 years, decades-long abstraction. And those are like foundational pieces that should exist in any climate, whether crypto goes up or goes down, they should be constant. And if we take an example, like if you're an Airbnb traveler and you're from Brazil, but you're staying in Vietnam and you want to pay in USD, it gets insanely complicated. Like today's global money movement and remittances, all of that is incredibly difficult to do in fiat. So what we see in the crypto world is, hey, new rails, new paradigms. We can actually make things that have been incredibly difficult much, much simpler. Now, crypto has its own problem, like wallets are more difficult, it's a new set of challenges. But the motivation comes from, hey, there are things that are hard here that shouldn't be so hard. And we see an opportunity to make them much, much simpler. So to me, this kind of use cases, it's very decoupled from the crypto goes up, crypto goes down kind of phenomenon. It's more of a, hey, yeah, on the 10-year horizon, I can't imagine that doesn't get better in like a decade from now. And so I think we want like programmable, cheap, frictionless global money movements. We want, and for some things, fiat currencies will remain the best solution. For others, crypto will be the best.
I think that's I think we're very, very aligned. I mean, I think the worlds are going to coexist. There's a fundamental shift, and we always say that. You've got to kind of narrow the emotional bounds between kind of the froth of building. Sometimes it's more difficult to build in a frothy market, right? As it is in a super bearish market. And I think, that long-term view is kind of really, really important as you build kind of a product. I think what would be really interesting, we've identified maybe some of the pain points. It'd be great to maybe unpack a little bit more about kind of developers and merchants' kind of most basic needs and the solution, and maybe unpacking the solution a bit more. So when you look at the Stripe fiat-to-crypto onramp, what is the precise kind of problem, or what's the exact solution that you provide? Maybe you can walk us through a little bit about the experience, the ease of integration, those sorts of points would be great to unpack.
That's a great question. I think there's a lot there. And I don't think we've solved all of it. There's still more to solve. But if I start from the beginning, I'm a developer and I want to build an end-user application in Web3. I think very quickly I realized I have a lot of problems to solve. Obviously, I need to make my application and I need my users to be excited and so product market fit type considerations. But I think very quickly I will realize that, hey, there is this myriad of services I need to integrate, and like, everybody is sort of a different vendor, and I need to do KYC and identity and with this vendor, and I need this with that vendor. And it quickly gets complicated. You now have to integrate with 5 or 6 or 7 different vendors. Each of them have their own things. You need they all sort of want a relationship with your users too, so it's not the easiest sort of partnership negotiations necessarily. And so as a developer, I want to worry about conversion rate. I want to keep the end user in my application. I want them to have the easiest path through the payment. to complete the purchase. And yet I have to worry about all of these things. And so I think where we see we can bring value is, can we make it all much easier? Like, it's all integrated. We deal with all the different components. You just plop it into your site and it just works. And that was the vision we went for. And so you should be able to customize the on-ramp. You should be able to embed it in your application. It should have the same style. It should have the look and feel of your application, instead of redirecting to a different site and being confused about branding and such. That's essentially what we were excited to solve.
Yeah, I think that's particularly important, right, about that kind of embeddable and customizable pieces, especially kind of the concept of trust is so important versus having to kind of leave and go somewhere else. I mean, that kind of is a great overview of maybe the what we can call the merchants or kind of the platform, the ease of integration, being able to kind of bridge these two worlds, the trust that obviously a group like Stripe also brings in terms of payment acquiring, the acceptance rates, all those kind of pieces. From the end user's perspective, so say, for example, Guillaume goes to one of the websites or one of the brands that you kind of currently power, and we kind of, the intro video obviously highlighted some of those. It would be great to maybe unpack from the customer experience, the end customer experience. What are some of the solutions or the pain points that the Stripe widget today is kind of solving?
Yeah, so I think we all want to get to the point where my grandmother feels confident she can buy an NFT on a website. I think we are pretty far away from that at this moment. But I think approximate points we want to get to is, hey, let's make it for an end user. Let's make it fast and cheap and reliable and safe. Like, let's focus on that. And then we can get the user experience all the way to my grandmother will feel safe to buy an NFT. And so we can aim to solve for all of that. And so maybe giving you one example, one thing we do and to handle some of these properties, Stripe has this authentication method called link, and it's a way to remember users across the internet. Essentially, anybody that pays for something using a website that uses Stripe, we can remember their credit card information. We can remember where we've seen them. And so we're able to reuse that to make the repeat purchase much easier. But not just within the context of the on-ramp, where, hey, the first time there is friction, the second time it's much easier. But if you've done purchases anywhere on the internet, in places that use Stripe, we can sort of save you the friction on the first purchase. I think these are the sort of kind of fundamental UX improvements we want to bring to end users. It shouldn't feel like it's incredibly painful, even the first time. And so everything should be like a click away. And yes, I should know your credit card. And no, I shouldn't have to ask you for identity because I already know you and I know that you're not a fraudulent actor. So that's the hope. Like, across the Stripe network, we can create this trusted set of users that can go through the payment experience much, much faster and more seamlessly.
Yeah, I think that's what's really, really exciting. I mean, from being able to access Web3, whether it be what we term an NFT today, I think that's fundamentally what's going to shift, right? Like, what even are we talking about will fundamentally change. But that ability to interact, purchase from end to end in under 30 seconds, I think is pretty game changing. And then even less, right? To your point, that identity and these payment methods are remembered to a really short period of time. So it would be great. We're going to play a short kind of overview video that will take a deeper look at the product, the Zero Hash APIs that lie under the hood as well. So hopefully that was a helpful overview of the product and some of the pieces there. I think it's fascinating to kind of hear that the solution is, for a two-person startup to, billion companies of billions of dollars of value. I think what's also interesting, right, is that Stripe obviously servicing maybe what people term more crypto native companies, and then obviously more traditional companies that maybe are entering the Web3 world and kind of shifting how they interact and how customer experiences interact. It would maybe be really helpful. Today, from your perspective and from your kind of strategic view, what types of companies, merchants are maybe using the onramp today? What ones will be using them tomorrow? And it'd be maybe helpful to unpack maybe one or two experiences that maybe particularly excites you. That obviously the Stripe gateway is powering.
Yeah, and sounds good. So, in terms of the on-ramp itself, I think we've spanned the spectrum. It's still early stage where we're still sort of ramping up our ability to onboard users and such, but we've seen users so far from wallets like Backpack and NFT checkout like Magic Eden. I think we also have a couple of DEXs like Orca and dApps like Audius. So I think we span the spectrum of the new Web3 shaped startups, whether they serve the more institutional use case or the more consumer centric use case. If I take sort of step back and look at the bigger picture, we do fiat payments for the largest exchanges. We do fiat payments for some of the biggest brands in the world, and all of those are expressing a lot of interest in using this kind of solution. And as they expand themselves into Web3, they might be like 6 months behind the startups or a year behind the startups, but we believe that what we are building for the Web3 startup will work for Nikes and the Adidas and the Pumas of the world, to give you examples. The kind of application I'm personally super excited about is things I haven't seen before. I think, as an example, Audius was pretty compelling. I wish them the best. Obviously, it's a very competitive marketplace, but I thought the way they were sort of taking on the Spotify segment and trying to come up with a different way of tipping creators and such was a very interesting experience. And I think the on-ramp fits really, really well in that experience. And to me, that's exciting. Let's not just copy-paste what has been done before, but it gives us an opportunity to rethink the way these creator economy type applications should work.
Yeah, no, I think that's what's fascinating about the product is that it solves a problem today, but also it bridges it. It's actually a really powerful enabler for businesses to enter because of the problems that it solves. I mean, maybe turning to like the experience of maybe building the product. Obviously, you were a principal engineer at Google for a number of years. You were CPO, VP of engineering at a group called Osmo, and then you've been at Stripe for a number of years. I mean, from your perspective, can you maybe just talk a little bit more around the internal decision around kind of build versus partner, and then ultimately why did you choose the path generically of partnership?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we debated this for quite a while, as you can imagine. Stripe is incredibly thoughtful in everything we do, and so we compared a lot of different providers. We compared the ability we potentially would have to also build ourselves. And to your point, we preferred going for partnership, and it was a combination of factors, but fundamentally it was speed to market. And at the speed that Web3 and crypto evolve, we didn't want to wait a year or 2 years, however long it takes to acquire the licenses we would need to serve customers in New York, as an example, at the bit license, or to serve customers in other countries and such. And so we wanted to find partners that were able to operate at so that the level of quality and technical excellence we wanted, and at the same time could bring to the table the right set of licenses. And I think Zero Hash fit that sort of set of requirements really well. But it was very much a combination of, hey, let's pick a solution that works really well for the product and gets us sort of to jump over that licensing hurdle. that otherwise would have taken us, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months to get over.
Yeah, no, I think that's what's, you made an interesting point about kind of the speed of evolution in this space, right? It's not only kind of maybe just a partnership for today, it's a partnership for the next few years and how that looks. I always use an example. If you just look at the crypto assets that are in the top 20 today, and you compare that to a year ago or 2 years ago, the amount that it changes very quickly shifts, right? And so if you're a Web3 developer, the conversations that we're having today, the blockchains that matter to them, even the features that matter to them, have fundamentally shifted in the last 12 to 18 months. And so it's almost like you're continuously chasing kind of this evolution. So the space is moving, but also the fundamental technologies evolving too. And, people often don't realize this, but for example, Ethereum today is actually fundamentally technologically very, very different than it was a few years ago. So it's not only new things coming to the space, but it's the things that are in the space also kind of changing as well that I think is super interesting.
Absolutely, yes. And just to build on that a little bit, I think the place where Stripe is probably the strongest in terms of what we think we can bring to the table is very much a space of complicated business logic where regulation forces sort of complicated choices, and we do realize that we can't build everything, and so we are very happy to rely on the right partners for the right things. And again, I think Stripe still wants to operate like a startup, and in that context, we're not at the point where it makes sense for us to build everything. And I would rather work with partners that can operate at the same sort of speed and in their respective area of expertise, and then go on the journey together.
Yeah. No, I think from our perspective, it's always been, I think we're a better company for working with Stripe, right? I mean, it's like one of those companies that you say we want to be like when you found a company in the fintech space. I think maybe just talking through that evolution. So you kind of made the decision to, hey, we want speed to market. We don't want to build everything ourselves. There's regulatory complexity. There's technical complexity. The space is moving a million miles an hour. So you took that decision to maybe strategically partner. It'd maybe be great to unpack a little bit around why Stripe chose to partner with Zero Hash as kind of part of that infrastructure provided on the API side, obviously just on the crypto piece. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about the product, and obviously Stripe does all of the acquiring and all of the fiat pieces and obviously all of the technical pieces. And then where does Zero Hash fit in? And then where Zero Hash fits in, what were you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. The onramp is interesting. It's a very complicated layered cake of things. And if you sort of decompose it into its primary components, there is a fiat payment acceptance bit. There is I need to KYC this person. I need now identity verification. And there's an API component for developers. There is a fraud module where now we need to make sure that in case of chargebacks and disputes, we do the right amount of fraud prevention and handling of that. And then there is the fulfillment of the crypto, like the actual exchange and fulfillment of crypto, and all the regulated activities around that. And I think there are places where Stripe obviously already had components. Like, as an example, we have Stripe Identity. We know how to do identity verification. And so we wanted to use our KYC to be able to have more of a seamless experience. At the same time, there are places where we just didn't have the solution. When we started the project, we did not have the capability of exchanging crypto. We did not have the capability of delivering crypto, fulfilling that order all the way to the wallet of the consumer. And so that's fundamentally what we were looking for, exchange and fulfillment with the right set of licenses. And so when we compared all the solutions in the space, some really wanted to have their own KYC in the flow. Some really didn't have the right shape of API. There's a lot of reasons why we disqualified different solutions. And I think coming out of the final top three, Zero Hash came out ahead quite clearly.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Is like we're very, very modular, and we can fit in. We can do a lot, but we can also just kind of narrow our product down. And as you said, right, Zero Hash kind of fits into that piece that you need, which is the conversion piece from fiat to crypto, and then the instantaneous sending to an on-chain wallet or smart contract or whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
So, I mean, within that, so that provides a great overview of like the different components and what Stripe does and what Stripe leverages. Obviously, its own existing solution that is leading in those areas. And then we like to think that we provide a small piece, but really world class in that piece and do that really well. In kind of that conversion piece and on-chain transfer, I know some of the things that we've discussed in the past is kind of asset supportability. Being able to support multi-chain in USDC, but could you talk a little bit more about just in that narrow zero hash piece, what were the key things that mattered to you or mattered to the clients that you were initially speaking to as you thought about building this product?
The overarching goal here was to optimize for conversion, and so we wanted to be able to deliver this seamless payment experience, the least possible friction, the best possible conversion rate, effectively, and so there are very many things that can go wrong along the way, and you want so the area that we needed Zero Hash to help with, you want the highest possible reliability, the highest possible scalability, and then you want to know that you can grow with that partner. You want to know that if you want to go to Arbitrum or Optimism or new chains, or you want to support Dogecoin, why not? That either the partner has it or the partner will implement it in a sort of a timeline that works for both sides. And I think it's the technical excellence, the team having being incredibly responsive to our needs, and so the modular aspect of it, and the fact that it's the future proofing and knowing that we can keep doing this for a while together.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fascinating. You kind of mentioned maybe new chains or different evolution. It'd be great, like, as you think about the future and you think about kind of more supportability, obviously Zero Hash today supports 65 different assets, dozens of different blockchains. Today, Stripe supports a slightly more narrow list defined by kind of the opportunity that Stripe sees. But it'd be great to maybe just unpack a little bit more, because you mentioned some of the assets and some of the newer chains that currently the Stripe product doesn't support. How do you think about that opportunity? How do you think about how you make decisions around expanding the supportability? Obviously, Zero Hash provides a lot of that infrastructure, but Stripe upstream has to kind of support, has to add that to their system. Obviously, has to anything or any maintenance, right? You have to think about. So I'm just curious about that kind of expansion of blockchains, that expansion of assets. How do you personally think of that as you think towards the future?
It's a bit of a nuanced answer, but I think fundamentally the guiding post here is, hey, the users want this chain, let's do it for them. And we need to get to a critical mass where people really want to use Starknet. Let's make sure that the on-ramp works on Starknet. And so we are very much guided by our users at the moment. I don't think we have sort of a religious belief that, or at least we don't want to project any sort of belief in the system that, hey, this chain is going to win, or we only want to invest in Bitcoin or any of these sort of strong stances. We want to be there for the developer, and the developers will guide us, and we will pretty quickly see, hey, there is a lot of momentum around there. Let's make sure we are ahead of the demand. I don't think we are chasing the latest and greatest chain or the latest and greatest asset. That might be a little bit different from others. We would rather provide a really great experience on the subset that we support, and hopefully that subset has like 99% or 95% coverage in terms of where developers actually are at and where end users want to be.
Yeah. So again, taking that like kind of 10-year time horizon, really building for the future, not kind of the short term, which definitely has come through on this. I'm curious a little bit about, what excites you? What excites your team? Maybe, Stripe's built an unbelievable team of people specialized on crypto. It's been amazing to meet many of them, from, the people on the legal side to the people on the engineering side, to the people on the product side, to the people on the partnership side, to the people on the business side. And a lot of these people have joined from other Stripe teams. What's exciting them? What's exciting you? Why are you able to bring other people in to join your team?
I mean, I go to work and I'm excited to work on this, and I think that's the case for the team as well. We were fortunate that Stripe really wanted to build a crypto team, and we got to handpick great people across the company to bootstrap this. And then we also found great cross-functional partners in legal and risk and financial crimes and such. So, I feel like the team is very capable at this point. Whatever we want to do, we should be able to do it. And the reason why we're all excited about this is, it's again the 10-year view. The potentials are enormous, and to me, it's really hard to imagine that blockchains don't become a key component of the financial system. There are ups and downs, and things go one way or the other, and there's regulators, and it's very complicated and chaotic. But if you think a little bit longer term, I can't imagine a world where blockchains are not incredibly critical to sort of the global economy, and because they bring something interesting to the table, like a trustless environment where you can record transactions. Like that fundamental ability to ledger in a trustless environment is incredibly foundational. Now it will take some time, and some avenues will work out faster, and some avenues will take longer. But to me, the ability to solve global money movement today is slow, expensive, incredibly bureaucratic. Hey, let's do better there. I don't want to take it for granted that that's the way it has to be. I would like to imagine that we can achieve incredibly fast and cheap and frictionless global money movements. And similarly for ownership of digital assets or any sort of niches where crypto, we think, can really bring something to the table. That's what excites me. I don't know precisely. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know which application will come first. But to me, it's hard to imagine that it won't happen. That blockchains will sort of not become a key component of the system.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've been in space since 2017, and just the one lesson that you learn is do not try and predict the future too much. I mean, the way I kind of talk to our team about this is, we see, cryptography, blockchains as a technology, not an asset class. And the adoption cycle is going to be very different, right? Ultimately, cryptography can be implemented into a whole host of use cases, right? From brands that Stripe supports today to money movement, remittances, all these different pieces. And, our goal, I know that you share that, is to really just be, and you've mentioned this about the crypto assets, is to be agnostic, right? You want to provide the infrastructure. You don't want to necessarily take bets on particular assets or even particular use cases. You want to just provide almost industry agnostic technology that can service downstream players as the different parts of the current economy as it exists today, the internet economy, begins to change and adjust. For folks that are potentially interested in learning more about the crypto product, where should they look? Where can they go? If there's potential customers, where should they? How do they get in touch?
Yeah, I mean, we have a webpage. I would love to update it because it's a little dated at this point. But stripe.com/crypto, I think, will get you to the basic information, and then I would love to just invite people to reach out. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Please just reach out, and we're happy to hear users. We may not have the solution today, but we very much want to be guided by what people want to do.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the way that you listen to clients and kind of take that feedback directly is great. So, no, thank you, Guillaume. I think this has been a great discussion. We look forward to continuing our partnership with you and the rest of the team at Stripe. And thanks for doing this. And I'm sure that a couple of folks will be reaching out with ideas and maybe feedback on the product. And, I know that you'd love to see that. So thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great discussion.
Thank you.